And finally, before we go, there is, I don't know where anyone would ever agree that Chris Brown could ever touch the Bobby of the don't my prerogative Bobby, that would that was doing dance moves where that nobody was like, why goodness, where's this guy? He was so. I mean, I will put up a poll to
Chris
see.
Brown and Bobby, I would love to see that because the thing is, I think because he's a younger artist, a lot of people have, a certain bias, especially our audience would have a bias towards Bobby. But Chris Brown is very, very talented. He's a very talented
Yeah,
person.
I
And
think
I
he
think
is.
that he gets a bad rap, but he's very talented.
Is he more
And
talented than Usher? Because so that's a very comparable
I
sense of.
would, y- I would, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes because um, I take the whole entirety of what that person does. Usher, I like Usher.
Mm.
Um, I like Usher. I do like Usher. I'm not a biggest fan of Usher. Vocally, Usher is better than Chris Brown, but I take in consideration Chris Brown has written a lot. I'm a songwriter, so I'm always side with a songwriter. I
Mm.
know that Chris Brown is very involved in his songwriting, very involved with his art and stuff. Like he's an artist as well. I'm like literally a painter. Like he's got all kinds of different things he can do. So I'm gonna say, yeah, I feel like personally, I think that Chris Brown is slightly more talented than Usher. Usher's talented as well, but I feel like I would have to give that to Chris Brown. He's been able to. I think his career has outlasted Usher's. I think that his career, when you think from 2005, he's still one of those top names in the game. He's
But then,
still doing it on that
but
level.
yeah, Usher started 10 years earlier than that. So and Usher's still
Was he?
in.
He did.
Yeah. So
I mean, he did. And his first album was a flop. And it wasn't until Jermaine Dupri came in and started writing some hits for me. He found a formula for Usher, and Usher had 3 or 4 successful albums. But I mean, every one of, with the exception of one, I think Graffiti, every one of Chris Brown's album has been platinum and gold. So I mean, you can't argue with that kind of success. You can't
yeah,
argue with that kind of success.
yeah. If we were
Now,
to,
has his success been stunted because of, some of the, bad press and some of the things that he was involved in? Yes, I think if that incident wouldn't have happened, who knows what Chris Brown's career would have been beyond that, because he was literally on a trajectory of being that next guy, that next Usher, that next whoever. But unfortunately, like I said, he's been plagued by bad press, and that's affected him. But even with that, his star has not been dimmed because people are still wanting to work with him. I mean, we could talk about this all day, but Usher, I
yeah,
like Usher. I'm not saying he's not talented, but I got to give it to Chris. I feel like Chris has he has something that Usher doesn't have. Usher can dance, but he can't dance like Chris Brown.
okay, okay.
That's
Well,
my
I mean,
opinion.
yeah, that's yeah, as you said. I think because when and I know when Timberland and Switch were going, no, they were actually both on um, Drinks and Champs, and Timberland was
Hmm.
saying, "Oh yeah, Chris Brown will take Usher in a verses," and I'm saying, in what planet does Chris Brown
Okay,
take Usher? Because Usher has the standout songs on
he does.
on his album, so there's no way Chris. I mean, Chris doesn't have the songs that would be like. I mean, he might have some hit songs, but he hasn't had the songs that.
But let me tell you the difference. The same way that your audience, okay, New Edition has your audience. Chris Brown has the audience because something about Chris Brown resonates with people beyond what Usher. Something about Chris Brown's personality. If you
Mm,
ask most people, something about Chris Brown is going to always kind of nudge over Usher because we don't really know who Usher is. If we feel like we know Chris Brown, we feel like we know a relative that's something like Chris Brown or just his personality. And I do agree. Usher has the Confessions album, which is his greatest accomplishment, and it's a 10 million. It's a diamond selling album. It's got some of the biggest hits he's ever had in his career. He has a lot of great hits, but Chris Brown has been consistent. Like he's just had success after success. He has literally over 10 hits. Now Usher has 10 hits, but Chris Brown has over 10 hits. So I would have to literally have to look. I don't have all the data in front of me. I have to look at the songs
Yeah.
in front of me. But I definitely think that Chris kind of has it on him. But again, Usher just needs to put out another hit because, like I said, Usher's last
Okay.
4 albums have been
So
dead on arrival. So I don't know what to say.
if we were to ask our community to say, okay,
Yeah,
Chris, so to make it fair not to do a Chris versus Usher, if we threw in Omarion and Mario, so that it just doesn't look as if we're just pitting the two together, what would be the
Marianne and who? And who else?
Omarion Mario?
Okay.
Oh,
I mean, they're just like space holders? Okay. I mean, because
yeah,
they don't.
so just
Okay.
because they do dance.
If any of you think that
Omarion.
Mario is better than the other three, let me know because we
Yeah.
have to have a
So
conversation.
what would be, would you say who's better, or who's more of a
Well, and that's another thing. It's so vague to say who's better in what terms, like as far as vocal ability, dancing ability,
yeah, both, yeah.
because you're putting similar people together.
Yeah.
Um,
So what would be the
I would
question?
say honestly, Mario is probably the best singer of the bunch. I do, Usher's good. It's hard for me to say Usher's the best though.
No,
I
okay.
would love to see Usher and Mario sing live on stage next to each other, and
But
then I
then
could judge that.
for the community to have their say, if you so what would be the question to pose to them? Would you what would be, because I normally when I pose questions, it's very much about favorite. Who is your favorite personal? Not I never ask who's the best, because I never want it to be like, it's not like the Grammys where you're trying to pick and the
Right.
best R&B, but it's like when it's like, well, who is your favorite? Like, oh, okay, I actually do like Usher more than this, but
Oh, I like Usher
for
better than
no, but
all of them, to
but
be
for
honest,
this type of thing, for this
as
discussion
far as
on
his music.
Chris Brown against Usher, the
Hmm.
question should be, what? Who is the who do you think is the more what? Who's the best R&B, or who's the most?
Well, you had it right the first time. I think most people, most average people don't distinguish between all those things. They just know who they like best.
Yeah,
So if you say vocals and all that, you try to, or hits, who had the most hits.
yeah,
I mean, I don't think that people think like that. I think they go emotionally as in terms of who do I like the best, or who I think has got a better, who's better to me. So you don't have to be real technical. The first way you put it is the perfect way. But talking about Can We Talk challenge, I would dare for somebody to try to sing some of Chris Brown songs. I don't know too many men that can actually sing Chris Brown songs. His songs are very
apart from Run It, which other tracks does he have that is like really?
okay. You got to do your research, Nnamdi,
I'm
because
like,
I mean, come on now, like what songs Chris Brown have you heard? His okay. I can't even answer that question. I mean, he has a lot of. Let's just say he has a lot of difficult songs. I mean, even Run It itself. What male singer could you hear singing that? It's like just like Tevin Campbell, who can sing in that range. I don't know too many guys that can sing in that range. Even Chris Brown to this day is still singing "Run It." He's still singing that song. It's very high. So, but like I said, I mean, I would love to know what people think. I know what they're gonna vote, but I already, I know who I think personally. I think is more the most talented. But like I said, I just think that Usher is a great artist. I don't like to. Somebody asked me in the comment section about why do we always have to compare things, but you compare everything in your life. You make choices between things you like. You go to the store. Do you want Charmin or do you want Bounty? Like you
yeah.
make decisions all the time. So music is no different. We compare artists all the time. We're just doing it in a public, forum.
People would talk about who is the greatest between Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson, and could Muhammad Tyson take on Ali? And you could say, oh, different generations, different types, and different stains and stuff. But anyone would say, well, who's your favorite? Even if it's football, or Michael Jordan and LeBron James, people would say, well, when Michael Jordan played, you could get away with, they were fouled a lot more. Now it's, you can barely touch somebody and the referee calls, and so Michael would actually thrive more now than he did back then. And so those things are always there to keep things interesting. The NBA doesn't mind it because it keeps it interesting, it keeps it more active. there's even if LeBron scores more goals, well, more points, you're never going to have a definitive answer. I mean, you may have
Right,
the
right.
sports journalists who would give you their top 100, and they may decide to put Michael Jordan, as they did. ESPN did that when I was back in of the 20th century. They did the top 100, and Michael Jordan was number one, Babe Ruth was number two, and Ali was number three. So best sports sports person. When we're doing it with music, as I said, um, when we're doing it with, if I said who's better, Prince or Michael Jackson, there are going to be always 60% more people who would built Michael Jackson over Prince.
Right.
Now,
Hmm.
I personally never liked Prince um, because I didn't like his music. I thought it was too rocky.
Right.
So I never really warmed to him. Now, I would admit that Prince is probably one of the greatest um,
But that's
musicians.
the interesting thing. When you set the criteria is who is more talented, then it gets people to thinking, well, okay.
Yeah, but
And you have to dissect, what does Michael Jackson actually do? What
well,
does Prince actually do?
yeah, but then if you ever met, because with Michael, he did write his songs, co-write his
Okay.
songs. He did, his singing, but then his performance. So when you say talented, if he had said who's a better musician, then they'll
Prince
all
is a
say,
good
well,
performer too now.
yeah, but he was no
Prince ain't
Michael.
nothing to
Yeah,
sneeze at.
yeah, but yeah, I
But
mean,
I know he's not your
yeah,
personal taste.
he's not. He's
That's
no,
the
no,
thing.
no,
He's not
no, no,
everybody's
no, no,
personal
not
taste.
about a personal taste. But if anyone, if you say Michael Jackson, everyone would think, okay, performance. Then they'll talk
Right.
about, the thing about his Michael is always about performance first. You don't then you think about the songs, but you always think about Michael
Mhm.
and performance. So then you can then Prince wouldn't,
You do.
with his guitar, and you won't really bring that. He'll put on
And
a show.
if you take off Michael Jackson off that particular bill and you put Prince and you put him up against a lot of people, Prince performance wise will perform at a lot of people under the table. He, especially in that go back to how those women were screaming and hollering and acting a
Yeah,
fool in that. So it's certain people that just had that. I remember there was a story about how Rick James thought he was the stuff until he came after Prince. And Prince, he didn't leave no fans for for Rick after when it was time for Rick to get on the stage. He was like,
yeah,
okay, he can't
yeah,
be my opening act no more.
yeah. I mean, as I said, when we look, as I said, I think the two things that got against me with Prince was more so
The
that
subject matter.
no style of music. I wasn't
Oh,
too.
style.
I
Mhm.
didn't. I did. It was. I didn't really warm to his style of music. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. So when you don't get into the music, it's hard to then get into. So I've never watched. I've never watched
yeah,
Purple Rain. You know, and I don't know
right.
if you ask me who. Probably my favorite Prince song is probably the most beautiful girl in the world. That was his
Oh,
last.
really?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
because it felt more R&B-ish, and like, okay, nice
Mhm.
little slow ballad, something. Um, but so a lot of people who remember Prince, he was more poppy. Less.
Right.
Doves Cry and all that stuff was more poppy stuff. So, but there are
Well, let
people
me
who are,
ask you this:
yeah,
who would you think is better, performance wise, Bobby Brown or MC Hammer?
performance-wise,
Hmm.
um, Bobby Brown, because
Okay.
because the reason is Hammer does the same sort of thing. He jumps up and twists and does the same thing. Um, when Bobby was doing his stuff, and if you look at his, his, I think "Don't Be Cruel" sort of tour. If you watch him on any Arsenio Hall, he would do different things. He was out dancing his dancers. Um, even when I look back and think, it was sad watching him on Versus and think, yeah, Bobby used to be able to do some stuff that used to defy gravity back in the day. He was,
Mhm.
he'll dance, he'll spin around, he'll go down, he'll do very different things. And Hammer was, he'll jump up and spin and just do the running man, and but he'll have like
Right.
50 dancers behind him doing the same sort of thing. But Bobby had his two dancers, and he was just electric. I think if I said who was a better performer, Bobby, Chris, Usher, Hammer, the only person that would beat them would be Michael. But if you just put them, Bobby would probably
Mhm.
top that poll. But But just saying with Prince, yeah, he was multi-talented and stuff like that. And I don't know, he can go up against Michael in any category, but I wonder who else he could go up against that people might be like, oh,
Who? You said Prince?
yeah, who could he go up with that people might be a little bit like, you have to take Michael out, because I think it's always unfair when you do anything with Michael.
But that's the thing. Like, we're talking about artists that have their literally their own space that nobody compares them other than with the other greats. Like, people constantly compare Michael and Prince because they can't think of anybody else on those levels to put them up against. Because Prince,
Janet Jackson and Prince. Would that be fair? Would you think the votes will be split?
I don't know how people. Honestly, I can't speak for what other people would do. I know I'm choosing Prince. I do like Janet. I know people think I must not like Janet. I do like Janet because I have said some things about Janet. But if I had the choice of what concert I would go to, I would go to Prince. Just because, and like I said, the funny thing is I actually like probably a lot more songs from her than Prince, just because that was closer to my type of music and what I like. But I do respect him as an artist. I do respect what he's been able to do. So I don't know. I'm going to choose Prince in that for me. But I like Janet.
Just a quick update. Mario is the better vocalist in my opinion, but better performer is Usher. And the fact that this man has been doing it for 30 years. So somebody just put a comment, TR.
That's what I said too.
I wonder if it's Teddy
Mario's
Riley.
the better performer.
So he's better vocalist. But
yeah, vocalist.
I think people then would recognize that Usher has just been that longevity. But it's always an emotive point. But we will put some polls up on our Can We Talk community page around some of the things we've been discussing, and I want you guys to get involved. And we will ask that question: why New Edition? Now, before Omar has admitted that he's a New Edition fan as well. I am one of the biggest New Edition fans. I remember seeing him in '98, and it's still my favorite concert ever. Seen all 6 of them coming out, doing their stuff separately and together. It just blows my mind. In fact, Blackstreet were the opening act, and 702 as well. But it was almost like when Blackstreet came, as much as I was a big Teddy fan, I was like, yeah, come on, Teddy, that's good. Okay, let's wait for New Edition.
Right.
But outside of that, I think there's a nostalgia that they bring to the table that I do not know, even though, as I mentioned, if they're doing a versus, I don't even know if they can win against Troop. And and if they were going up performance-wise against Troop back in the day, I thought Troop were performers.
That's the thing. We need to see these guys in their prime when they're actually like to see them now.
Force MDs as
not fair.
vocalists. I mean, yeah, it's
But I'll tell you how much I'm a New Edition fan. I actually bought the Hot Tonight album or whatever that album was on Bad Boy. That's how much of a fan I was. I'm not gonna say yeah. I mean, I like New Edition.
Yeah.
It's just I don't get the level of. But it's good. I like that. I do like that people are passionate. That's good. I like to see passionate fans about things. I would love to be a part of that. I wish I was a fan of somebody today like that, where I'm just so passionate and nothing you can say. I'm just so irrational. Nothing you can say will penetrate that wall of.
Well, I did have somebody that I was passionate about until people did say a lot of things, and I lost my passion.
Oh yeah.
Well, but anyway, thanks for watching the show today.
And before we go, remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button.
Yeah, but also remember to hit the notification button so you can be notified when we have a future show.
That too.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Bye.